Hi, I'm Banyard, author of Natural Mindfulness. Out in nature, this is a beautiful spring where the water is just emerging from the ground. It's a very special place. For hundreds, maybe thousands of years, our ancestors have settled at spaces like this and worshipped at places like this. And I'm not surprised because here deep in the Gloucestershire Cotswolds, one of the lovely beech forests, it's very special. I can hear a plane going overhead, but that will pass, just like many of the thoughts I don't like thinking about, and that I promote in my natural mindfulness practice. This ability to just see everything as sound. The sound of the plane drifts away, and the wonderful sound of the spring below me here comes back with the bird song. And there's something quite comforting for me to hear both the sounds of nature and the sounds of everyday life around me. It can be quite daunting to be lost in a forest with only the sounds of the forest, because we are a species who, we came from this natural world, but we live in the modern world, and so instinctively we remember this, and maybe intuitively we remember this, but we're also very consciously aware that we don't want to get lost and away from the comforts of our homes and our towns and our cities. So natural mindfulness is very much about bridging those two worlds and that balance. And one of the reasons that I'm making this video today is I've come out, this is a Monday morning, and I've come out today to actually practice what I've written about and what I teach. Teach is probably the wrong word, what I share on my guide trainings and on my natural mindfulness walks. Natural mindfulness is a form of forest therapy. The natural mindfulness guide is not the therapist. Nature and the forest is the therapist. But you need a guide, somebody to bring you to this space in order to connect with nature as the therapist, or forest therapy as it's becoming popularly known now. Whether you're forest bathing, whether you're on a natural mindfulness walk, or any other kind of nature connection walk or experience. Nature and the forest is always where the healing is coming from. So what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to shoot this video because I've come into the woods here, into the forest, a big beech forest, to a special place like this with the water and the bird song. And I'm relaxing and I have no plan. And one of the wonderful things about coming out into nature is you can let go of all the kind of the mind exhausting planning and thinking about either things that haven't yet happened or dwelling on things that have already happened that we can do very little about, and that's exhausting. And I felt exhausted this morning. I had an exhausting week with the mind. I also had an exhausting day yesterday because my garden needed some love and care. And so I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting while my wife did all the detail. I'm very good at moving a lot of things, and she's very good at making it all look nice and tidy. So we're a good team in that way. But I woke up this morning and I said to myself, what do I really need today? It's a Monday morning. I could get straight into work, and I've got things I could be doing, but they would be very mind-based. But what do I really need this morning? What does my heart or my gut or my true nature tell me I need? And it was this: to come out into nature for me and practice what I share. And so I've been walking for about an hour and a half now, and I've come to a space and a nature walk that I don't know. I've never walked here before, so I wanted to come to a place I didn't know. And what my aim is when I come into nature and I'm practicing natural mindfulness is to get lost. I want to get lost in nature. I don't mean permanently, I mean just lose myself. And I think the self I'm trying to lose is the manufactured, manipulated, kind of roles that I have to take on in life, and I want to lose those. I want to kind of lose the labels, lose the have-tos, the musts, the ought-to-bes, and connect with a truer version of me. I call it my true nature. And coming into nature is a wonderful place. If you can come in mindfully, so your senses are all open, and you have no thought. If you have any thought, the thought is on what you're sensing. So it's present moment awareness rather than thought. And in that space, in that state, there's a connection. I connect. And I like to think I'm connecting with my true nature, the part of me that is completely connected to all of this life that's around me. And there's something really powerful about that. And it's interesting that when I do that, when I connect, I get insight. I often say I'm channeling nature, but I am nature, so it's not really a channel, is it? It's just me speaking from my true nature, and I love doing that. It's not exhausting. It's I learn and discover as much as the people I'm talking with, and I think there is a power or a gift we all have, which is when we're true to our nature, we speak our truth, our personal truth. And if everybody spoke their personal truth and was closer to their true nature, we would be able to live in sync, in balance, in harmony with each other, because we are expressing our individual nature, but honestly and authentically. And it's interesting because as I was walking along, I remembered a story that I love, and it's a story I first came across when I was watching Finding Joe, which is a film that was made about 10 years ago about Joseph Campbell. And if you don't know about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, I would suggest you check him out, because he's had a big influence on my life. Certainly his work has, and there's a lot of unconscious hero's journey in my journey with natural mindfulness and before my journey with nature. And the story I thought of this morning as I've been walking here was the story of the Golden Buddha. And the story goes, it's one of these metaphor stories. So the story goes that there was a golden Buddha, very valuable golden Buddha. And the village where the golden Buddha was, and everybody, where this cherished treasure was going to be invaded. The people there knew that there was an army coming. They knew it was going to be dangerous. And they knew that the first thing the army would do was take the golden Buddha, not for the richness that the golden Buddha provided, and the message and what the golden Buddha represented, but just to melt down and for the gold. So they got very frightened and didn't know what to do. And then a young boy said, "Why don't we cover the golden Buddha in mud, and they'll think it's just an ordinary statue?" So the people covered the Buddha in mud. And when the mud dried, the golden Buddha looked just like a statue. So they left the village, and they left the golden Buddha there covered in mud. And when the army came looking for treasure, looking for gold, looking for whatever they could take, they saw this ugly Buddha statue and totally ignored it and left it. And many, many years passed, and nobody came back to the village for many, many years. The people were too scared to come back, and they thought the soldiers would probably still be there. So nobody came back for many, many, many years. And then when people finally did come back, they only thought it was a statue. They'd forgotten that it was a golden Buddha, so all they saw was the statue. And then one day, many years later, a child was playing around the Buddha and knocked the hand of the Buddha, and some of the mud chipped off, revealing a golden finger. And the child ran to his parents and said, "The Buddha is golden, the Buddha's golden." And the people came out and noticed the golden finger and started to crack away the rest of the mud, and discovered underneath this golden Buddha, this treasure, been hidden inside the mud for so long. And the metaphor of that story, if you haven't already picked up on it, is that we're all golden Buddhas. We all have this richness inside us, but we cover ourselves up with a hard mud-like exterior. I often call it my armour, my suit of armour that I put on when I go out into the world and I don't want to. I want to hide my vulnerability, or I don't want to get hurt. So I put on a front, I put on a face, I have something over the surface, but it restricts me. It doesn't allow me to be me. It doesn't allow me to be flexible and free. So just like the Golden Buddha, my richness is trapped underneath this muddy exterior that was there to protect me, as it was to protect the Golden Buddha. But as the years passed, there is no longer a threat for me. I don't feel there's any threats out there. There's nothing that can hurt my vulnerability or my social fears that I had as a child. Not good enough, people won't like me, all of those things. They don't bother me now. I'm older, and as long as I like me, and as long as I'm around the people that value who I am, then I feel fine. And even when I'm around people that don't, I can let that go. That's one of the things I learned from a natural mindfulness practice, is just like the clouds and stormy weather, those sorts of things pass. And have no attachment to anything that brings you harm. Notice it, but let it go. And so, we're all golden Buddhas inside. And I think for many people, I certainly felt it about 15 years ago. I felt I was cracking. And sometimes it takes something in life, maybe a bereavement, maybe bankruptcy, maybe divorce, maybe an illness, to crack that exterior. And that's sometimes, we have to crack and break, sometimes I believe, to discover the Golden Buddha beneath. So that story came back to me while I was walking. I think it's very relevant because it is very much about why I see natural mindfulness practice as a forest therapy. Because I believe that, like me, people could benefit from getting lost in nature sometimes, because it's when we get lost in nature we find our true nature. So if you'd like to know more, get in touch with me. If you're already connected with me, I hope to see you on a walk soon. If you're interested in guiding others, I run guide trainings now online and here in Gloucestershire. I've got lots of plans for retreats, natural mindfulness retreats and other natural mindfulness programs. I've got one called Nature Care, which is about looking after ourselves, and Nature Empowerment, which is about helping others achieve what they want to achieve. And so there's lots of ideas I've got based on this practice of natural mindfulness. There may even be a book in there as well, because people keep asking me what this idea of finding, healing, understanding and releasing our true nature is all about, because I mention it in my first book, Natural Mindfulness, Your Personal Guide to the Healing Power of Nature Connection. And so I think maybe there's another book there around helping people discover their true nature. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you like the story. If you have, leave some comments. Let me know what you think. If you have stories of your own that are relevant to what I'm talking about, please share those as well. It's lovely to share. As I say, experiencing, connecting and sharing is one of the greatest things that we can do for ourselves and for others. Take care now.